I will be starting a new series where I read a chapter of the books I've written. The title of the series is called Inferna, and the first book is Inferna Through Heaven and Hell, which the first chapter I will be reading today, and I will be reading one chapter every week, except on every fourth week. So I'll do it. Read a chapter, read a chapter, read a chapter, skip, read a chapter, read a chapter, read a chapter. So I'll skip every fourth week. The first book is 4 chapters long. The second is also 4 at the current moment. It's still a work in process. I'm writing the 5th. So here we go. Chapter 1. The beginning of a journey. From a young age, me and my best buddy have been through heaven and hell together. But let me start from the beginning. My name is Akira. I grew up in a small town near the western seaboard. I was about 8 when I met this other kid. His name was Steven. Me and Steven hit it off instantly. After a year or two, we made a blood pact to always be friends. I saw him as a brother, and we were always by each other's side. I soon realized I had this power. It was kind of like pyrokinesis, but attaching these flame-like energy to myself increased my physical stats. I was curious about this power, but I only told Steven about it. I read a lot, and a man 300 years ago with the same last name as me was known for being able to take out entire legions, but no one knew how. I looked into my own history, and sure enough, there his name was again. A man from the most eastern coast. His name was Megami Toitoro. I practiced with my powers and started working out so I could do even more. Me and Steven got curious and found an old book about summoning demons. We drew a pentagram in ink and said the chant backwards 3 times. The ink started to glow as a tall, lanky creature with long black hair and pupilless eyes slowly rose out of the pentagram. The creature just stood there, staring at us with a smile. Its teeth were all long and fang-like. Its hands had these long, nail-like fingers with one joint in the middle. The fingers were about a foot long each. The creature put all its fingertips together and striked at me. I had to block with my flame energy. The creature repeatedly struck, and all I could do was block and dodge. I yelled at Steven, asking what to do, and he responded that if I used my fiery energy and say the exorcism chant, it would erase the demon from existence. I put out as much of the flame energy as I could, making it surround me and the creature, and yelled, "With the inferno of hell, I release you from your demonic shackles. Be free and enter eternal peace." The demon's body burned and melted till even the bones were gone. Me and Steven found a book telling us that the flame energy is called Inferna, and the sorcerers that can control Inferna are called the Conquerors of Hell. Me and Steven thought that was badass. I mean, it's hard to think these demons and sorcerers are real. I never really had any profession that piqued my interest, but becoming a demon hunter seemed really tempting. I began practicing the chant and surrounding a set area with Inferna. Me and Steven summoned a demon who was an ex-boxer. I wanted to test an actual fight against one of these demons. His lower half was goat-like, and he had a red skin with horns and two short horns. I imbued my muscles with Inferna and went for a right hook. He dodged and got me in the gut. I hit him in the head with my elbows, disorientating him, and then I proceeded to grab his horns and knee him in the stomach. I put out my hand and concentrated as much Inferno as I could and released it in a blast, reducing the demon to ash. Steven ran up to me and gave me a high five and said it was the coolest fight he's ever seen. I now had a goal: use Inferno to exorcise every demon in the book. I exorcised demon after demon, either by blasting them after a fight or surrounding them in Inferno and reciting the chant. After a few months, we got at the halfway point, and me and Steven celebrated. We've been coming into the woods out in Steven's yard and exercising 1 a day. So I can become stronger, I've been searching for more information on Inferno and found a book of martial arts and have been practicing martial arts so my fighting gets better. We got some donuts to celebrate the halfway point. It's also kind of celebrating Steven's 13th birthday. It feels weird to lie to my parents about what I'm doing, but it's important for the greater good of hell. I found a way to make a gate to hell. It's really tempting, but I don't want to leave home for a prolonged amount. I've been learning a lot about Inferna. Like, if I concentrate in it in a location other than myself, and build up enough Inferna, I'll be transported to that location. If I shape the Inferna into my body's shape, it'll make a clone that lasts 30 minutes. Me and Steven learned that he can learn Inferna through a ritual and a portion of another's Inferna being given to him. The ritual required the ashes of 100 demons, which we had, draw a sacred symbol, and say the exorcising phrase 3 times. We spread the ashes in a specified area and said the exorcising chant 3 times. I placed my hand on Stephen's chest and transferred Inferna into him. Inferna burst around us. The ashes burned and flew around us like a vortex. Stephen's eyes glue a bright red. He asked me how to get better control. I didn't know how to help, since my Inferno is easily under my control. I placed my hand on his shoulder and took a large portion of his Inferno. His eyes went back to a bright blue. Since Inferno is hell energy, it is mostly composed of demonic power. This affected Stephen's brain. We found a way to lower the demonic part of Inferno. We found this old antique store, and the man there the man in charge of the store called us over. He said he could feel our Inferno, and he knows how to deal with the mental distress. He pulled out a deck of cards. His Inferno is a special type, meaning that his Inferno is more powerful than normal, but he has restrictions. His Inferno is the sin of greed, and throughout the earth, of all Inferno users, one is given a sin. The man said his name was Jack, and his sorcerer name is Jack of all trades. Jack told us that you need high Inferno control to keep the demonic voices out. I naturally have high Inferno control, so I never heard the voices. Jack told us to hide in Inferno control, you need to practice with Inferno. He said there's about 100 natural Inferno users and about 50 unnatural ones. Jack said he would train us if we wanted, and we quickly agreed. We went to our normal location and brought Jack. Jack was an interesting fellow. He was in his early 20s and wore a red vest with matching pants and a white button-up under his vest. He always carried a deck of cards. I thought it was weird, but then... And Jack explained his power. He rolls 2 dice, and the higher the number, the more power he has. And then, during a fight, he has a slot machine going. Every time the slot machine hits jackpot, his power multiplies by 100 for 5 minutes. To use his Inferno, he needs to draw a card. The higher the power on the card, the more Inferno he uses. Me and Steven decided to challenge Jack to a sparring match. Jack accepted, and we got really ready. Jack rolled a 3 and a 6. He started laughing, and his eyes turned red. Jack drew 8 and launched a spade-shaped blast of Inferno. I quickly threw a wall of Inferno and barely blocked it. Jack said a chant and summoned his slot machine. The slot machine goes once every 30 seconds. Jack drew a queen and launched another attack. I teleported behind him and kicked him in the back. Steven put Inferno into his legs so he could dodge the attack. Jack got back up and complimented me for how cunning I was. Me and Steven blasted as much Inferno as we could, trying to beat Jack. But he put up a force field after drawing a 6. Jack's slot machine hit jackpot, and a huge burst of Inferno came from Jack. His eyes turned yellow and his skin turned red. He suddenly grew 2 long, sharp black horns. He drew an ace and trapped me and Steven in Inferno shackles. Me and Steven forfeited the match, seeing we were extremely outclassed. After 5 minutes, Jack's skin and eyes turned back to normal, and his horns disappeared. Jack said it was his demonic form, and all sorcerers have one. He can only access his when he gets a jackpot. Jack said that in demonic form, a sorcerer's power is tripled, so technically jackpot makes him 300 times stronger. Jack said I was about as strong as him if he rolled an 8, and Stephen was about as strong as him rolling a 6. Jack said the strongest sorcerer he's ever met was about as strong as him rolling an 11. He said there's probably no sorcerer who can beat him after a jackpot. He said that he could beat any demon except the devil. He said he's on the devil's level after a jackpot. I have a new goal: kill the devil. Me and Stephen trained under Jack for months and learned tons of abilities and techniques. Jack said he was impressed by our progress and wanted us to keep training with him for the next 5 years. Me and Stephen were very grateful of Jack and quickly accepted. We asked Jack how we could repay him, and he told us to become the strongest sorcerers of the next generation. Jack wants to be known among sorcerers as the best inferna mentor. He said after us, he'll start a dojo and charge 1,000 USD per month. He said it's a good, easy way to make a living, and the antique store is barely making enough. Jack told me and Stephen to make sorcerer names. I chose Divine Flame Manipulator, and Stephen chose Hell's Legion. Me and Stephen started working out together since I've been working out for over a year. I do a lot more than Stephen does. The stronger the person physically and mentally, the better they are at controlling Inferno. I started dating a beautiful girl named Evelyn. She's blonde with blue eyes, with a green ring in the middle. We've been watching this popular news show about listening to cult followers and seeing what they follow and practice. There was one that mentioned Inferno, but they didn't go in depth, and the camera people brushed it off as a religion belief. They believe in supporting hell and the demons from it. I went to Jack, but first he lectured me about skipping training to go out with Evelyn. I apologized and told him about the cult. Jack told me not to worry too much, since chances are that they aren't even strong enough to cause any problems. I told Evelyn about Inferno and told I was training with this powerful young man. During the next training session, I introduced Evelyn to Jack and Stephen. Jack hit me with the back of in the back of the head for telling her about Inferno. Jack told me it's important to let people important not to let people know, or we'll be shunned out of society and hunted by crazy people. Evelyn watched the three of us train and was amazed by Inferno. After training, I walked Evelyn to her house, and on the way I answered all of her questions about Inferno. She said she supports my goal to kill Satan and wishes she could help. The next 5 years went by in a flash. Me and Stephen reached adulthood. Jack even got stronger from training and sparring with us. Jack said that our strength impressed him and that I was half as strong as him during Jackpot when I'm in my demonic form. He also said that Stephen was about a third as strong as a Jackpot in his demonic form. My demonic changes my eyes to a deep red, and I got 2 curled horns like a ram. When Stephen enters his demonic form, his teeth become spiked and his hair turns a deep dark black. His muscles also get larger and his movements are slightly slowed down. Me and Stephen had a sparring match after our training with Jack ended. My demonic form far surpassed his demonic form strength. I speed blitzed him after cloning myself. He could barely catch up with me after cloning. There was just too much for him to handle. We both also re-challenged Jack. Me and Stephen entered our demonic forms, and Jack rolled an 11 and summoned his slot machine. We were fighting Jack pretty well at first, but once he got a jackpot, it was over for us. He grabbed Stephen so fast we didn't even see him. He proceeded to knee him in the stomach and clap his head back, completely disorientating him, and then he chopped Stephen in the back of the neck, knocking him out. By the time I reached Jack, By this time, I reached Jack, but he surrounded me with his inferno, and then he struck my stomach and kicked me away. He then canceled his jackpot and helped me and Stephen up. I learned that when Jack's jackpot is in effect, he doesn't need to draw a card to use Inferno. We all used Inferno to heal our injuries. Jack turned to us and hugged us both and told us he was proud of the sorcerers we've become. Me and Stephen looked at each other and then turned to Jack and thanked him for all these great years. Me and Stephen were in the forest exercising demons, and suddenly an inferno-infused arrow grazed my cheek. Me and Stephen looked and saw a cloaked figure in one of the trees, and I quickly shot him down and trapped him with inferno chains. It was a young sorcerer. He told us his name was Charlie, and he was sent to kill us. We asked who put a hit on us, and he told us the cult of Inferno. We called Jack over, and he came as quick as he could. I told Jack I warned him, and Jack went to Charlie. And Jack went to Charlie and asked him how big the cult was and asked how many sins it had. Charlie said the cult has 50 members along the western border. He also said the cult currently has 3 sins. He said the cult has the sin of lust, wrath, and pride. There are 3 churches, one with a sin in charge at each, and the closest one is the sin of lust. Charlie described the sin as a psychotic, masochistic woman that is an insanely skillful fighter. We headed to the location Charlie said, the first churches. We found a tower in a wooded area.